Victor was a man who mocked faith and laughed at the idea of God every day. To him, belief in a higher power was nothing more than a sign of weakness. But his life took a surprising turn when strange events began to unfold, events that defied logic and shook his confidence. From vivid dreams of an unseen presence to inexplicable coincidences that seemed too deliberate to ignore, Victor's skepticism started to waver. As he confronted the possibility that there might be more to life than he understood, an extraordinary encounter forced him to reconsider everything he believed. What happens when a man who challenges God is faced with undeniable signs of the divine? You won't want to miss this story. The bustling city was alive with noise as people rushed to and fro, absorbed in their daily routines. Among them was Victor, a man known for his sharp wit and biting sarcasm. A self-proclaimed atheist, Victor took every opportunity to ridicule those who believed in a higher power. To him, faith was a crutch, and the idea of God was nothing more than a fairy tale. Every morning, as he passed the small chapel near his apartment, he would pause, smirk, and make a mocking comment directed at the heavens. "Still no thunderbolts, huh?" he'd say with a chuckle, his voice dripping with derision. "Guess you're on vacation, God." For years, Victor lived his life without a second thought about the consequences of his words. He prided himself on being logical and self-reliant, dismissing the struggles and faith of others as weakness. His friends often warned him to tone down his mockery, but Victor would laugh it off. One day, Victor encountered an elderly woman outside the chapel. She was frail, with a kind smile and a spark of wisdom in her eyes. Clutching a rosary in her hands, she offered him a gentle nod as he walked by. Amused, Victor stopped. "Still praying to the invisible man in the sky?" he asked, his tone condescending. "What's the point?" The woman didn't falter. She looked at Victor and replied softly, "It's about believing. One day you'll understand." Victor rolled his eyes and walked away, shaking his head. "Not likely," he muttered under his breath. Little did he know, her words would soon echo in his mind in ways he couldn't ignore. That night, as Victor sat in his apartment, the city outside seemed unusually quiet. A strange unease settled over him, though he couldn't quite pinpoint why. He brushed it off and went to bed, falling into a restless sleep filled with vivid dreams. In one of them, he found himself standing in an endless field of light. A powerful presence surrounded him, yet he couldn't see its source. The warmth was overwhelming, and a voice deep and resonant spoke. "Victor, why do you mock what you do not understand?" Startled, Victor looked around but saw no one. "Who's there?" he demanded, his voice trembling. The voice continued, ignoring his question. "You challenge me daily, yet you have never sought to know me. Do you believe you hold all the answers?" Victor woke with a start, his heart pounding. Dismissing the dream as a product of his subconscious, he tried to shake it off. But as the days passed, strange events began to occur. His clock would stop at exactly 3:33 a.m. every night. He'd hear faint whispers in an empty room, words he couldn't quite make out. And most unsettling of all, he began to notice coincidences that felt far too deliberate to be random. One afternoon, Victor decided to clear his head with a walk in the park. As he strolled along the path, lost in thought, a little boy ran past him, chasing a balloon. The boy's laughter was infectious, and for a moment, Victor felt a rare sense of peace. But then, the balloon slipped from the boy's grasp, floating high into the sky. The child's face crumpled with disappointment. Without thinking, Victor approached the boy. "Don't worry, kid," he said, pulling a small, unused balloon from his pocket, a leftover from his niece's birthday party. "Here, take this." The boy's face lit up, and he ran off happily. Victor stood there, surprised at himself. He wasn't known for random acts of kindness, yet something about the moment felt right. As he continued his walk, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him. That night, the dream returned. This time, The voice was firmer. "Victor, you are beginning to see. Kindness and humility open the path to understanding." Victor awoke in a sweat, his mind racing. The dreams, the coincidences, were they connected? He needed answers. Against his better judgment, he returned to the chapel, hoping to find the elderly woman. To his surprise, she was there, lighting a candle. "Back so soon?" she asked, with a knowing smile. Victor hesitated. "I've been having strange dreams," he admitted. "And things keep happening, things I can't explain." The woman nodded. "It sounds like someone is trying to reach you." "Someone?" Victor scoffed. "You mean God?" The woman didn't respond directly. Instead, she handed him a small, worn Bible. "Read this," she said. "Start with the Psalms. You might find the peace you're looking for." Reluctantly, Victor took the Bible and left. That night, curiosity got the better of him. He opened the book and began to read. The words felt foreign yet oddly comforting. As he delved deeper, he felt a strange sense of connection, as if the words were speaking directly to his soul. The next day, Victor found himself drawn back to the park. There, he saw a homeless man sitting on a bench, shivering in the cold. Normally, Victor would have walked by without a second glance, but something compelled him to stop. "Here," he said, shrugging off his jacket and handing it to the man. "You need this more than I do." The man looked up, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Bless you," he whispered. Victor felt a warmth he couldn't explain, a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. Over the next few weeks, he began to change. He started volunteering at a local shelter, helping those in need. He reconnected with old friends and family, apologizing for his arrogance and seeking to mend broken relationships. One evening, as he walked home from the shelter, he noticed a faint glow in the sky. Stopping in his tracks, he realized it was coming from the direction of the chapel. Rushing there, he found the elderly woman waiting for him. "I understand now," Victor said, tears streaming down his face. "Faith isn't about proof. It's about love, kindness, and trust." The woman smiled, her eyes twinkling. "You've learned the lesson, Victor. The Lord works in mysterious ways, but His purpose is always clear to bring us closer to Him." From that day forward, Victor lived a life of humility and compassion, no longer mocking what he once didn't understand. Instead, he became a beacon of hope and kindness, a living testament to the transformative power of faith and the lessons only life can teach.